Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. All right, beautiful people. Today's read is going to be really interesting. Okay. All right, y'all. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. It is December the 10th. Like, we almost in 2021, y'all. Today is December the 10th, 2020. Day 20 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 689. Yes, 689. Remember, that is the count without the Sabbath and the Sabbath feast days added in. Why? Because we rest on those days. So we don't count those days. They're counted in a year, but they're not counted in a full day count. So, guys, we're going to hop right to it today. We are going to be reading Enoch Chapter 13, 14, 15, and 16. They're pretty short. And then we're going to hop right over in the Legends of the Jews and pick up some more of the stuff that happened in the beginning with Adam and how he was created, the details in which he was created. This is not the full details. We're going to read the full details of how he was created, but not today. It's just going to give us a portion of today, but also the details of the shenanigans of what happened when him and Eve fell. Some of the shenanigans in there, y'all gonna find it quite interesting. All right, y'all. Okay, so let's get started. Uh-oh. No. Uh-oh. I almost closed YouTube out by mistake. I'm sorry. Ooh. I think y'all can still see me. Okay. All right, y'all. Enoch chapter 13. Then Enoch, passing on, said to Azazel, "You shall not obtain peace. A great sentence is going forth against you. He shall bind you. Neither shall relief, mercy, and supplication be yours on account of the oppression which you have taught, and on account of every act of blasphemy, tyranny, and sin which you have discovered to the children of men." Then departing from him, I spoke to them all together, and they all became terrified and trembled, beseeching me to write for them a memorial of supplication, that they might obtain forgiveness, and that I might make the memorial of their prayers ascend up before Yahuwah, the Elohim of heaven, because they could not themselves thenceforth address him, nor raise up their eyes to heaven on the account of the disgraceful offense for which they were judged. Then I wrote a memorial of their prayer and supplications for their spirits, and for everything which they had done, and for the subject of their entreaty, that they might obtain remission and rest. So what it's saying is, the angels, after they came down and did all the craziness, they were sorry, or they wanted Enoch to intercede on their behalf so that Yah would forgive them for what they had did by defecting from their heavenly post and intermingling with human flesh. Proceeding on, I continue over the waters of Dan, which is on the right side of the west of Hermon, reading the memorial of their prayers until I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions appeared above me. I fell down and saw a vision of punishment, that I might relate it to the sons of heaven and reprove them. When I awoke, I went to them, all being collected together, stood weeping in Obus Sayel, which is situated between Libanos and Sennassir, with their faces veiled. I related in their presence all the visions which I had seen and my dream, and I began to utter these words of righteousness, reproving the watchers of heaven. Enoch chapter 14. This is the Sefer. Remember, the Sefer is a scroll or written book. This is the Sefer of the words of righteousness and of the reproof of the watchers, who are from eternity, according to that which he who was holy and great, who is Yahuwah, which he who was holy and great commanded in a vision. I perceived in my dream that I was now speaking with a tongue of flesh, and with my breath, which El Elohim has put into the mouth of men, that they might converse with it and understand with the heart. And as he has created and given to men the power of comprehending the word of understanding, so has he created and given to me the power of reproving the watchers, the offspring of heaven. I have written your petition, and in my vision It has been shown to me that your request will not be granted to you as long as the world endures. Judgment has been passed upon you. Your request will not be granted to you. From this time forward, never shall you ascend into heaven. He has said that on earth he will bind you as long as the world endures. But before these things you shall behold the destruction of your beloved sons. You shall not possess them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. Neither shall you entreat for them, not for yourselves, but you shall weep and supplicate in silence. The words of the Sefer which I wrote. A vision thus appeared to me. Behold, in that vision, clouds and a mist invited me. Agitated stars and flashes of lightning impelled and pressed me forwards, while winds in a vision assisted my flight, accelerating my progress. They elevated me aloft to heaven. I proceeded until I arrived at a wall built with stones of crystal. A tongue of fire surrounded it, which began to strike me with terror. Into this vibrating flame I entered and drew nigh to a spacious habitation built also with stones of crystal. Its walls, too, as well as pavement, were formed with crystal stones, and crystal likewise was the ground. Its roof had the appearance of agitated stars and flashes of lightning, and among them were the cherubim of fire, and their heaven was water. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal blazed with fire. When I entered into this dwelling, it was hot as fire and as cold as ice. No trace of delight or of life was there. Terror overwhelmed me, and I was fearful, and shaking seized me. Violently agitated and trembling, I fell upon my face. In the vision I looked, and behold, there was another habitation more spacious, every entrance to what was open before me, erected in a vibrating flame. So greatly did it excel in all points, in glory and magnificence, and in magnitude, that it is impossible to describe to you either the splendor or the extent of it. Its floor was on fire. Above were lightnings and agitated stars, while its roof exhibited a blazing fire. Attentively, I surveyed it and saw that it contained an exalted throne, the appearance of which was like that of frost, while its circumference resembled the orb of the brilliant sun, and there was the voice of the cherubim. From underneath this mighty throne, rivers of flaming fire issued. To look upon it was impossible. One great in glory sat upon it, whose robe was brighter than the sun and whiter than snow. No angel was capable of penetrating to view the face of him, the glorious and the effulgent, nor could any mortal behold him. A fire was flaming around him. A fire also of great extent continued to rise up before him, so that not one of those who surrounded him was capable of approaching him. Among the myriads of myriads who were before him, to him holy consultation was needless, yet did not the sanctified who were near him depart far from him either by day or by night, nor were they removed from him. I also was far advanced, with a veil on my face and trembling. Then Yahuwah with his own mouth called me, saying, Approach hither, Enoch, at my holy word. And he raised me up, making me draw near even to the entrance. My eyes was directed to the ground. Enoch chapter 15. Then addressing me, he spoke and said, Hither, neither be, I'm sorry. Then he spoke and said, Hear, neither be afraid, O righteous Enoch, you scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice. Go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent you to pray for them, you ought to pray for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and holy heaven, which endures forever, and have lain with women, and have defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and have taken to yourselves women, have acted like the sons of the earth, and have begotten giants. You, being spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. However, these die and perish. Therefore, I have given unto them women, that they might cohabit with them, that sons might be born of them, and that this might be transacted upon the earth. But you from the beginning were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal, and not subject to death forever. Therefore I made not women for you, because being spiritual, your dwelling is in heaven. Now the giants who have been born of the spirit and of flesh shall be called upon the earth evil spirits, and on the earth shall be their habitation. Remember before, hey Natasha, hey girl, hey. A couple weeks ago, we actually read Enoch chapter 15. So if this sounds familiar to your ears, if you haven't already read it, but you heard me read it, this is why. Because we brought this out when we first started Genesis, and we talked about the evil spirits here on the earth, and Yahuwah said that they would be here, so it wasn't just humans, but after the fall, there are some that are held in the depths of the earth, in the abyss and under the earth and stuff, but there are some who reside here on this plane, and they aggravate the heck out of human beings. So any of you all who ever been attacked by a demon spirit, something that you can't see, but you can clearly feel the effects of it in your body, and sometimes you can hear them, and those who have experienced this, y'all know what I'm talking about. I've personally experienced this since I was a little girl, so we know this to be true. Though sometimes, like I said yesterday, sometimes people haven't had like supernatural experiences like this, or had encounters with otherworldly entities, that think this is a bunch of hokey pokey, a bunch of rubbish. I'm telling you, because they've never experienced it. But those of us who has knows this to be true. Okay. Something popped up. Okay. Yes, the paralysis dreams. Natasha's going out. Yes, the paralysis dreams I've had, not dreams, but encounters when I'm fully awake. Yes, when we are fully awake, it happens at times, right? Okay, so some of us who had this experience knows this to be true. And that's why I said, for those who didn't know that this information was given to us, Enoch chapter 15 explains it all and what these entities are. And it also explains it in the Legends of the Jews a little bit deeper. I'm not sure that some of y'all are ready for some of that. That's why some of them portions I'm using wisdom on the parts that I'm going to read. But I will tell you, and maybe some babes in here just listening from the beginning, and I don't know, they would need to understand the whole thing instead of come in on the part which would seem like scary or whatever, but it's not. For those of us that understand, we understand clearly what's going on. So I'm using wisdom and not reading that portion out loud at this moment, but it's there if you want to get the book. I ain't trying to hide anything, nothing. I'm telling you what's there, but I'm using wisdom on some portions right now until we get to a point where, well, at least I know there's some people that may not quite get it. I don't know, may have to do separate videos doing that, but I don't know. We may not. We probably will bring it in at some point. So, we can go through, and then by that time I'll reference previous videos and references so that you can kind of get a foundation. But like I said, those who've actually experienced this here in real life understand completely that this is nothing but the truth. People who haven't had that personal experience may have a little bit harder time understanding it, so that's why I said not everybody here has had those experiences with otherworldly entities. Okay, so back to Enoch chapter 15, and it's telling here about those entities who are here on this earth, who are concealed and who can make themselves visible here in the realm if they should choose to, if Yah allows it for whatever reason. Enoch chapter 15 is the go-to chapter where you can read the details about that. All right. I'll go back up to 6. But you from the beginning, remember this is Enoch relaying the message to the watchers who defected and left their posts and are here. Enoch is giving them what Yahuwah said about them, what's going to happen to them, and why they're not forgiven, right? But you from the beginning were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal and not subject to death forever. Therefore, I made not women for you, because being spiritual, your dwelling is in heaven. Now, the giants who have been born of the spirit and of flesh shall be called upon the earth evil spirits, and on the earth shall be their habitation. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above, From the holy watchers was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon the earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall they be called. The habitation of the spirits of heaven, the habitation of the spirits of heaven shall be in heaven, but upon the earth shall be the habitation of the terrestrial spirits who are born on the earth. The spirits of the giants are like Nephilim, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, content, and bruise upon earth. They shall cause lamentation. No food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and shall rise up against the sons of men and against women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. And we clearly know that we are in those days, the days of slaughter and destruction. And then it said, I'm not sure if y'all even see some of the stuff, even some news clippings, some crazy stuff you see on YouTube, people recording people who look demon possessed. Guys, these people not playing. This is what Enoch 15 is talking about. So when you see somebody and they look like they're not there, or they look like they're in that sunken place, and it's like somebody else driving the ship, you best believe 100% it probably is. Somebody else is driving that ship, and it is an evil spirit. Okay, y'all, last chapter for today, Enoch chapter 16. It's only 5 verses, then we're going to hop right over. As to the Enoch chapter 16, as to the death of the giants, wheresoever their spirits depart from their bodies, let their flesh, that which is perishable, be destroyed before the judgment. Thus shall they perish until the day of great consummation of the great world. A destruction shall take place of the watchers and the impious. And now to the watchers who have sent you to pray for them who in the beginning were in heaven. Say, in heaven you have been. Secret things, however, have not been manifested to you, yet have you known a reprobated mystery. And this you have related to women in the hardness of your heart. And by that mystery have women and mankind multiplied evils upon the earth. Say to them, never therefore shall you obtain peace. So the angels who came down, and remember it tells us about how they taught the daughters of men sorcery and all these things, and how to make themselves up in charms and incantations. They taught them all this. Yahuwah said, you only knew half of what you taught them. You went down there and gave them half-cocked information. So there is no forgiveness ever for you. And they about to destroy this place that I gave to them as a gift. Okay. All right, y'all. So we'll pick this up in Enoch tomorrow. Let's hop on over here to the manuscript we have been reading, which is called The Legends of the Jews. Remember, y'all. And I know I keep repeating it, but just remember the name of it. Although it's called The Legends of the Jews, is pulled from actual manuscripts and writings and stuff. And it was just given this name by this gentleman who compiled the information from scrolls that were consistent with the information from scrolls, the consistent information from scrolls that are scattered in different places on the earth, right? So we kind of got, let's say we got some half-cocked information over here, right? So this fills in it. It took everything that was consistent in all those scrolls and their holy books, and he added it in here. This is not everything. It's only a portion. He only added in here what was consistent in all the other holy scrolls. And of course, he wrote it and he called it The Legends of the Jews, or the stories of the people of the book. Okay. All right. So here, first we're going to read about Adam, give us a little bit more details about him and how Yahuwah created him. And like the size we are midgets compared to the first people who walked this earth. All right, y'all. Like all creatures formed on the 6 days of creation, Adam came from the hands of the Creator fully completed. Adam came from the hands of the Creator fully and completely developed. He was not like a child, but like a man of 20 years of age. The dimensions of his body were gigantic, reaching from heaven to earth, or what amounts to the same from east to west. Among later generations of men, there were but few who in measure resembled Adam in his extraordinary size and physical perfections. Samson possessed his strength, Saul his neck, Absalom his hair, Asahel his fleetness of foot, Uzziah his forehead, Josiah his nostrils, Zedekiah his eyes, and Zerubbabel his voice. History shows that these physical excellencies were no blessings to many of their possessors. They invited the ruin of almost all. Samson's extraordinary strength caused his death. Saul killed himself by cutting his neck with his own sword. Remember, they was in battle. He fell upon his own sword. At least it said the Saul was killed by a woman. I think that's what it was. Yeah, but anyway, he fell upon his own sword, and his armor bearer that was with him, he saw him kill himself, and he fell on his sword too. Yep. Saul killed himself by cutting his neck with his own sword. While speeding swiftly, Asahel was pierced by Abner's spear. Absalom was caught up by his hair in an oak, and thus suspended met his death. Uzziah was smitten with leprosy upon his forehead. The darts that killed Josiah entered through his nostrils, and Zedekiah's eyes were blinded. The generality of men inherited as little of the beauty as of the portentous size of their first father. The fairest women compared to Sarah are as apes compared with a human being. Sarah's relation to Eve is the same, and again, Eve was but an ape compared to Adam. His person was so handsome that the very sole of his foot obscured the splendor of the sun. His spiritual qualities kept pace with his personal charm, for Yahuwah had fashioned his soul with particular care. She is the image of Yahuwah, and as Yahuwah fills the world, so the soul fills the human body. As Yahuwah sees all things and is seen by none, so the soul sees but cannot be seen. As Yahuwah guides the world, so the soul guides the body. And as Yahuwah is in his holiness is pure, so is the soul. And as Yahuwah dwells in secret, so does the soul. Can we all agree on that? We can agree on that. Like that's basic common sense things. But it when you put it in words and say it, it's like, duh, yeah, you're right. When Yahuwah was about to put a soul into Adam's clod-like body, he said, "At which point shall I breathe the soul into him? Into the mouth? Nay, for he will use it to speak ill of his fellow man. Into the eyes? With them he will wink lustfully. Into the ears? They will hearken to slander and blaspheme. I will breathe her into his nostrils as they discern the unclean and rejected and take in the fragrant. So the pious will shun sin and will cleave to the words of the Torah." Remember yesterday when we spoke about the soul, as we was describing the soul is referred to as she, just like us in relation to Yahuwah, we are referred to as she. But us humans in relation to planting into the earth, we're like male. As we take our seed and plant it into the womb of the earth, she, the earth, then takes the seed that we put into her, and she begins to incubate and give it all the things to help it grow. Just like when a man has sex with a woman, male in relation to female, the male is the one carrying the seed that impregnates the womb of the woman. The woman cultivates and gives birth. It's the same thing, right? The soul in relation to the human body is female and the body is male. Okay. I hope y'all get that. I hope I explained that the right way. And that's what it was saying when we read it yesterday. The perfections of Adam's soul showed themselves as soon as he received her, as soon as he received his soul, as soon as he received his soul. Yeah, I said it right. The perfections of Adam's soul showed themselves as soon as he received her. Indeed, while he was still without life, in the hour that intervened between breathing a soul into the first man and his becoming alive, listen to this. Listen to this. I'm going to read it again. In the hour that intervened between breathing a soul into the first man and his becoming alive, Yahuwah revealed the whole history of mankind. He showed him each generation and its leaders, each generation and its prophets, each generation and its teachers, each generation and its scholars, each generation and its statesmen, each generation and its judges, each generation and its pious members, each generation and its average commonplace members, each generation and its impious members, the tale of their years, the number of their days, the reckoning of their hours, and the measure of their steps were all made known unto him. Of his own free will, Adam relinquished 70 of his allotted years. His appointed span was to be 1,000 years, one of Yahuwah's days. Remember that when we read in Psalm, I think it's in Psalms, a day as, what was it? A day, hold on, I'm make sure I say that right. One of Yahuwah's days is as 1,000 years. Yeah. Better to dwell in the house of Yahuwah. Yeah, I'm messing the scripture up, but y'all know what I'm talking about. One of Yahuwah's days is as 1,000 years. That's what it's talking about here. Of his own free will, Adam relinquished 70 of his allotted years. His appointed span was to be 1,000 years, one of Yahuwah's days. But he saw that only a single minute of life was apportioned to the great soul of David, and he made a gift of 70 years to her, reducing his own years to 930. The wisdom of Adam displayed itself to the greatest advantage when he gave names to the animals. Then it appeared that Yahuwah, in combating the arguments of the angels that opposed the creation of man, had spoken well when he insisted that man would possess more wisdom than they themselves. When Adam was barely an hour old, Yahuwah assembled the whole world of animals before him and the angels. The latter were called upon to name the different kinds, but they were not equal to the task. However, Adam spoke without hesitation. O Yahuwah, God of the world, the proper name for this animal is ox, for this one horse, for this one lion, for this one camel. And so he called all in turn by name, suiting the name to the peculiarity of the animal. Then Yahuwah asked him what his name was to be, and he said Adam, because he was created out of Adamah, dust of the earth. Again, Yahuwah asked him his own name, and he said Adonai, Yahuwah, because thou art Lord over all creatures. The very name Yahuwah had given unto himself, the name by which the angels call him, the name that will remain immutable evermore. But without the gift of the Holy Spirit, Adam could not have found names for all. He was in very truth a prophet, and his wisdom a prophetic quality. The names of the animals were not the only inheritance handed down to Adam, to the generations after him, for mankind owes all crafts to him, especially the art of writing, and he was the inventor of all the 70 languages. And still another task he accomplished for his descendants. Yahuwah showed Adam the whole earth, and Adam designated what places were to be settled later by men and what places were to remain waste. Okay, y'all, so now we're jumping over here, and we're going to talk about more detail about how they actually fell in the garden, being deceived by the serpent. So listen to this. Among the animals, the serpent was notable. Of all of them, he had the most excellent qualities, and some which he had resembled man. Like man, he stood upright with 2 feet, and in height he was equal to the camel. Had it not been for the fall of man, which brought misfortune to them, 2, one pair of serpents would have sufficed to perform all the work man has to do. And besides, they would have supplied him with silver, gold, gems, and pearls. As a matter of fact, it was the very ability of the serpent that led to the ruin of man with his own ruin. His superior mental gifts caused him to become an infidel. It likewise explains his envy of man, especially of his conjugal relations. Envy made him meditate ways and means of bringing about the death of Adam. He was too well acquainted with the character of man to attempt to exercise tricks of persuasion upon him, and he approached the woman, knowing that women are beguiled easily. The conversation with Eve was cunningly planned. She could not be but caught in a trap. The serpent began, "Is it true that Yahuwah has said, you shall not eat of every tree in the garden?" "We may," Eve enjoined, "eat of the fruit of all the trees in the garden, except that which is in the midst of the garden, and that we may not even touch, lest we be stricken with death." She spoke thus because in his zeal to guard her against the transgression of the divine command, Adam had forbidden Eve to touch the tree, even though Yahuwah had mentioned only the eating of its fruit. It remains a truth what the proverb says, better a wall 10 hands high that stands than a wall 100 ells high that cannot stand. It was Adam's exaggeration that afforded the serpent the possibility of persuading Eve to even taste the forbidden fruit. The serpent pushed Eve against the tree and said, "Thou seest that touching the tree has not caused thy death. As little will it hurt thee to eat the fruit of the tree. Naught but malevolence has prompted the prohibition, for as soon as you eat thereof, ye shall be as God. As he creates and destroys worlds, so will ye have the power to create and destroy. As he doth slay and revive, so will ye have the power to slay and revive. He himself ate first of the fruit of the tree, and then he created the world. Therefore doth he forbid you to eat thereof, lest you create other worlds. Everyone knows that artisans of the same guild hate one another. Furthermore, have ye not observed that every creature have dominion over the creature fashioned before itself? The heavens were made on the first day, and they are kept in place by the firmament made on the second day. The firmament, in turn, is ruled by the plants, the creation of the third day, for they take up. The firmament, in turn, is ruled by the plants, the creation of the third day, for they take up all the water of the firmament. The sun and the other celestial bodies, which were created on the fourth day, have the power over the world plants. Now that's true, because as I started gardening, I got a farmer's almanac, right? So the farmer's almanac is very detailed, and it talks about how you should plant certain things on like a full moon, and what it does and how it grows according to the light in the sky. I'm like, what? I'm like, who knew these things? But it's a science that clearly a lot of people know who have been gardening for a while, and I just found out, and it just blew my mind. Okay? So that's what he's talking about. Listen, the sun and the other celestial bodies, which were created on the fourth day, have power over the world of plants. They can ripen their fruits and flourish only through their influence. Creation of the fifth day, the animal world, rules over the celestial spheres. Witness the ziz. This talks about the ziz in detail, but we're not going to talk about it today. But the ziz is I think the ziz was a bird. The ziz was a bird. Okay. Yeah, right. It's going to tell you. Witness the ziz, which can darken the sun with its pinions, but ye are masters of the whole of creation, because ye were the last to be created. Hasten now and eat of the fruit of the tree in the midst of the garden, and become independent of Yahuwah, lest he bring forth still other creatures to bear rule over you. To give due weight to these words, the serpent began to shake the tree violently and bring down its fruit. He ate thereof, saying, As I do not die of eating the fruit, so will thou not die. Even Eve could not but say to herself, All that my master Adam, so she called Adam, commanded me is but lies. And she determined to follow the advice of the serpent. Yet she could not bring herself to disobey the command of Yahuwah utterly. She made a compromise with her conscience. First, she ate only the outside of the skin of the fruit. And then, seeing that death did not fail her, she ate the fruit itself. Scarce had she finished when she saw the angel of death before her. Expecting her end to come immediately, she resolved to make Adam eat of the forbidden fruit too, lest he espouse another wife after her death. It required tears and lamentations on her part to prevail upon Adam to take the baleful step. Not yet satisfied, she gave the fruit to all other living beings, that they too might be subject to death. All ate, and they all are mortal, with the exception of the bird Malham, who refused to eat the fruit with the words, Is it not enough that ye have sinned against Yahuwah and have brought death to others? Must ye still come to me and seek to persuade me into disobeying Yahuwah's command, that I may eat and die thereof? I will not do your bidding. A heavenly voice was heard then to say to Adam and Eve, to you was the command given, yet did not heed it. Ye did transgress it, and ye did seek to persuade the bird Malham. He was steadfast, and he feared me, although I gave him no command. Therefore he shall never taste death, neither he nor his descendants. They shall all live forever in paradise. Adam spoke to Eve, didst thou give me of the tree which I forbade thee to eat? Thou didst give me thereof, for my eyes are open, and the teeth in my mouth are set on edge. Eve made answer, as my teeth were set on edge, so may the teeth of all living beings be set on edge. I'm be like, sis, I'm gonna choke you out right now. The first result was that Adam and Eve became naked. Listen to this, y'all. Remember we talked about the covering that they were covered with, and how even Jasher gave us a little bit of detail where the righteousness that clothed them disappeared. This goes into a little bit more detail of the glory and how their souls were covered. Listen to this. Okay. The first result was that Adam and Eve became naked before their bodies had been overlaid with a horny skin and enveloped with a cloud of glory. No sooner had they violated the command given to them than the cloud of glory and the horny skin dropped from them, and they stood there in their nakedness and ashamed. So listen, the way I used to read this growing up and how it was said to me, which made me understand it like this, was that they were, let me make sure I say this right, that they were ashamed of their nakedness. Like if you are uncovered in front of somebody, like, oh, you're trying to cover yourself up, oh, you're ashamed of your nakedness. No, they stood there naked, and they were ashamed of what they had did by disobeying Yah. It makes it, you can understand it better that way. If you have full details, you can get the full gist of what's being said. So they were ashamed of their nakedness, but not like the, oh, I can see your body parts type naked, but they were ashamed that they disobeyed, and now they were naked of the glory, and they realized it's going, and now they're ashamed for what they did, if that makes sense. Shalom, shalom, mother. Okay, I read it again. Let me go back up here. Let me just go back to Adam. Okay. And I'm going to quit jumping in. Adam spoke to Eve, didst thou give me of the tree which I forbade thee to eat? Thou didst give me thereof, for my eyes are open, and the teeth in my mouth are set on edge. Eve made answer, as my teeth were set on edge, so may the teeth of all living beings be set on edge. The first result was that Adam and Eve became naked before their bodies had been overlaid with a horny skin and enveloped with the cloud of glory. No sooner had they violated the command given them than the cloud of glory and the horny skin dropped from them, and they stood there in their nakedness and ashamed. Adam tried to gather leaves from the trees to cover parts of their bodies, but he heard one tree after the other say, there's a thief that deceived his creator. Like the tree's like, oh, y'all's not pulling us into y'all foolishness. Listen to this. There's a thief that deceived his creator. Nay, the foot of pride shall not come against me, nor the hand of the wicked touch me. Hence, and take no leaves from me. Like he pulling, look, don't touch my leaves. I ain't got nothing. Don't touch my leaves, you thief, you sinner. Don't take none of my leaves to cover yourself. That's what's happening, right? There is the thief that deceived his creator. Nay, the foot of pride shall not come against me, nor the hand of the wicked touch me. Hence, and take no leaves from me. Only the fig tree granted him permission to take of its leaves. That was because the fig tree was a forbidden fruit itself. Adam had the same experience as that prince who seduced one of the maid servants in the palace. When the king, his father, chased him out, he vainly sought a refuge with the other maid servants, but only she who had caused his disgrace would grant him assistance. And that's crazy, right? Okay. Now listen to the punishment. Listen to the punishment, y'all. As long as Adam stood naked, casting about for means of escape from his embarrassment, Yahuwah did not appear unto him. For one should not strive to see a man in the hour of his disgrace. He waited until Adam and Eve had covered themselves with fig leaves. But even before Yahuwah spoke to him, Adam knew what was impending. Oh, something else. Did y'all know that fig leaves look like grapevines? And they grow in clusters just like grapevines? I looked that up yesterday. I was like, that's very interesting. Okay, just a side note, keep that, like store that right up in here. Don't let it go. All right. But even before Yahuwah spoke to him, Adam knew what was impending. He heard the angels announce, Yahuwah betaketh himself unto those that dwell in paradise. He heard more too. He heard what the angels were saying to one another about his fall and what they were saying to Yahuwah. In astonishment, the angels exclaimed, what? He still walks about in paradise? He is not dead yet? Whereupon Yahuwah, I said to him, in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Now ye know not what manner of day I meant. Hold on, let me read this over, y'all. I think I read it too fast. Okay. He heard more too. He heard what the angels were saying to one another about his fall and what they were saying to Yahuwah. In astonishment, the angels exclaimed, what? He still walks about in paradise? He is not dead yet? Whereupon God, I said to him, in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Now ye know what manner of day I meant, one of my days of 1,000 years, or one of yours. I will give him one of my days. He shall have 930 years to live, and 70 to leave to his descendants, right? So that should help us with a bit of our math when we're trying to calculate some things here in the Bible, right? Okay, we'll just leave it there for the moment. When Adam and Eve heard Yahuwah approaching, they hid among the trees, which would not have been possible before the fall. Listen, remember we talked about his size. Before they fell, him hiding amongst the trees would not have been possible, right? Okay. When Adam and Eve heard Yahuwah approaching, they hid among the trees, which would not have been possible before the fall. Before he committed his trespass, Adam's height was from the heavens to the earth, but afterward it was reduced to 100 ells. Another consequence of his sin was the fear of Adam. Another consequence of his sin was the fear Adam felt when he heard the voice of Yahuwah. Before his fall, it had not disquieted him in the least. Hence it was when Adam said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid. Yahuwah replied, aforetime thou wert not afraid, and now thou art afraid. Yahuwah refrained from reproaches at first, standing at the gate of paradise. He but asked, where art thou, Adam? Thus did Yahuwah desire to teach man a rule of polite behavior, never to enter the house of another without announcing himself. It cannot be denied. The words, where art thou, were pregnant with meaning. Like was saying, he's not trying to teach him a lesson in politeness, like, you knock before you enter. That's not what Yahuwah was saying. It says, where art thou, were pregnant with meaning. They were intended to bring home to Adam the vast difference between his latter and his former state, between his supernatural size then and his shrunken size now, between the lordship of Yahuwah over him then and the lordship of the serpent over him now. At the same time, Yahuwah wanted to give Adam the opportunity of repenting of his sin, and he would have received divine forgiveness for it. But so far from repenting of it, Adam slandered Yahuwah and uttered blasphemies against him. When Yahuwah asked him, hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee, thou shouldest not eat? He did not confess his sin, but excused himself with the word, O Lord of the world, as long as I was alone, I did not fall into sin. But as soon as this woman came to me, she tempted me. Yahuwah replied, I gave her unto thee as a help, and thou art ungrateful when thou accusest her, saying, she gave me of the tree. Thou shouldest not have obeyed her, for thou art the head and not she. Yahuwah knows all things. Yahuwah, who knows all things, had foreseen exactly this. And he had not created Eve until Adam had asked him for a helpmate, so that he might not have apparently good reason for reproaching Yahuwah with have created woman. As Adam tried to shift the blame for his misdeed from himself, so also Eve. She, like her husband, did not confess her transgression and pray for pardon, which would have been granted to her. Gracious as Yahuwah is, he did not pronounce the doom upon Adam and Eve until they showed themselves stiff-necked. Not so with the serpent. Yahuwah inflicted the curse upon the serpent without hearing his defense. For the serpent is a villain, and the wicked are good debaters. If Yahuwah had questioned him, the serpent would have answered, Thou didst give them a command, and did I contradict it? Why did they obey me and not thee? Therefore Yahuwah did not enter into an agreement with the serpent, but straightway decreed the following 10 punishments. The mouth of the serpent was closed, and his power of speech taken away. His hands and his feet were hacked off. The earth was given him as food. He must suffer great pain in sloughing his skin. Enmity is to exist between him and man. If he eats of the choicest viands or drinks the sweetest beverages, they all change into dust in his mouth. The pregnancy of the female serpent lasts 7 years. Men shall seek to kill him as soon as they catch sight of him, even in the future world. Ain't that true? Everybody flipping out when they see a snake, unless you a snake lover. Okay. Men shall seek to kill him as soon as they catch sight of him, even in the future world, where all beings will be blessed. He will not escape the punishment decreed for him. He will vanish from out of the holy land if Israel walks in the ways of Yah. Furthermore, Yahuwah spake to the serpent, I created thee to be king over all animals, cattle, and the beasts of the field alike, but thou wast not satisfied. Therefore thou shalt be cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. I created thee of upright posture, and thou wast not satisfied. Therefore thou shalt go upon thy belly. I created thee to eat the same food as man, but thou wast not satisfied. Therefore thou shalt eat dust all the days of thy life. Thou didst cause the death of Adam in order to espouse his wife. Therefore I will put enmity between thee and the woman. How true it is, he who lusts after what is not his due, not only does he not attain his desire, but he also loses what he has. As angels had been present when the doom was pronounced upon the serpent, for Yahuwah had convoked a Sanhedrin of 71 angels. A Sanhedrin is like a conglomerate, a whole big group, right? So he called together a Sanhedrin, or a huge group of angels, to come witness, right? Okay. As the angels had been present when the doom was pronounced upon the serpent, for Yahuwah had convoked a Sanhedrin of 71 angels when he sat in judgment upon him. So the execution of the decree against him was entrusted to the angels. They descended from heaven and chopped off his hands and feet. His suffering was so great that his agonized cries could be heard from one end of the world to the other. The verdict against Eve consists of 10 curses. Pay attention, ladies. The verdict against Eve consisted of 10 curses, the effect of which is noticeable to this day in the physical, spiritual, and social state of woman. It is not Yahuwah himself who announced her fate to Eve. The only woman with whom Yahuwah ever spoke was Sarah. In the case of Eve, he made use of the services of an interpreter, which was probably the angels. Finally, also the punishment of Adam was tenfold. He lost his celestial clothing. Yahuwah stripped it off of him. In sorrow, he was to earn his daily bread. The food he ate was to be turned from good into bad. Think about how food molds, y'all. The food he ate was to be turned from good into bad. His children were to wander from land to land. His body was to exude sweat. He was to have an evil inclination. In death, his body was to be a prey of the worms. Animals were to have power over him in that they could slay him. His days were to be few and full of trouble. In the end, he was to render account of all his doings on earth. These three sinners were not the only ones to have punishment dealt out to them. Listen to this, y'all. Bella, chill. The earth fared no better, for it had been guilty of various misdemeanors. In the first place, it had not entirely heeded the command of Yahuwah given on the third day to bring forth tree of fruit. What Yahuwah had desired was a tree, the wood of which was to be as pleasant as the taste. I'm sorry. What Yahuwah had desired was a tree, the wood of which was to be as pleasant to the taste as the fruit thereof. The earth, however, produced a tree bearing fruit, the tree itself not being edible. Again, the earth did not do its whole duty in connection with the sin of Adam. Listen, Yahuwah had appointed the sun and the earth to witness, to testify against Adam in case he committed a trespass. The sun accordingly had grown dark the instant Adam became guilty of disobedience, but the earth, not knowing how to take notice of Adam's fall, disregarded it altogether. So when Adam sinned, all the heavens knew, something's wrong. You know how that check engine light come on in your truck? That's what the sun did. Power went out. Y'all might want to take a look at what's going down there on the earth. You better say something, set your alarm off. But the earth didn't really know exactly how to say it, Let me read it again. Okay. The earth fared no better, for it had been guilty of various misdemeanors. In the first place, it had not entirely heeded the command of Yahuwah given on the third day to bring forth tree of fruit. What Yahuwah had desired was a tree, the wood of which was to be as pleasant to the taste as the fruit thereof. So meaning not only would the fruit that the tree bore was edible, but the tree itself was edible, like the part we chopped down, like it should have been edible. The earth, however, produced a tree bearing fruit, the tree itself not being edible. Again, the earth did not do its whole duty in connection with the sin of Adam. Yahuwah had appointed the sun and the earth witnesses to testify against Adam in case he committed a trespass. The sun accordingly had grown dark the instant Adam became guilty of disobedience, but the earth, not knowing how to take notice of Adam's fall, disregarded it altogether. The earth also had to suffer a tenfold punishment. Independence before, she was hereafter to wait on to be watered by the rain from above. Sometimes the fruit of the earth failed. The grain she brings forth is stricken with blasting and mildew. She must produce all sorts of noxious vermin. Therefore, she was to be divided into valleys and mountains. She must grow barren trees, bearing no fruit. Thorns and thistles sprout from her. Much is sown in the earth, but little is harvested. In the time to come, the earth will have to disclose her blood, and she shall no more cover her slain. And finally, she shall one day wax old like a garment. When Adam heard these words, thorns and thistles shall it bring forth concerning the ground. A sweat broke out on his face, and he said, "What? Shall I and my cattle eat from the same manger?" Yahuwah had mercy upon him and spoke, "In view of the sweat of thy face, thou shalt eat bread." Oh, the way that's twisted when we are taught that, right? Okay, I ain't gonna get into detail on that. The earth is not the only thing created that was made to suffer through the sin of Adam. The same fate overtook the moon. Listen to this. When the serpent seduced Adam and Eve and exposed their nakedness, they wept bitterly, and with them wept the heavens and the sun and the stars and all created beings and things up to the throne of Yahuwah. The very angels and celestial beings were grieved by the transgression of Adam. The moon alone laughed before Yahuwah grew raw and obscured her light. Instead of shining steadily like the sun, the length of the day, she grows old quickly and must be born and reborn again and again. The callous conduct of the moon offended Yahuwah, not only by the way of contrast with compassion of all other creatures, but because he himself was full of pity for Adam and his wife. He made clothes for them out of the skin stripped from the serpent. Remember we talked about how he enclosed our soul in flesh? Because he himself was full of pity for Adam and his wife. He made clothes for them out of the skin stripped from the serpent. He would have done even more. He would have permitted them to remain in paradise if only they had been repentant. But they refused to repent, and they had to leave, lest their godlike understanding urged them to ravage the tree of life, and they learned to live forever. As it was, when Yahuwah dismissed them from paradise, he did not allow the divine quality of justice to prevail entirely. He associated mercy with it. As they left, he said, "Oh, what a pity that Adam was not able to observe the command laid upon him for even a brief span of time. To guard the entrance of paradise, Yahuwah appointed the cherubim, called also the ever-turning sword of flames, because angels can turn themselves from one shape into another at need. Instead of the tree of life, listen, y'all, instead of the tree of life, Yahuwah gave Adam the Torah, which likewise is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her. And he was permitted to take up his abode in the vicinity of the and he was permitted to take up his abode in the vicinity of paradise in the east." Y'all hear that about the Torah? I read it one more time. Bella, what you just put in there? Oh, your food from last night? Okay. Okay. Listen. Instead of the tree of life, Yahuwah gave Adam the Torah, which likewise is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her. Okay. Sentence pronounced upon Adam and Eve and the serpent, Yahuwah commanded the angels to turn the man and the woman out of paradise. They began to weep and supplicate bitterly, and the angels took pity upon them and left the divine command unfulfilled until they could petition Yahuwah to mitigate his severe verdict. And we almost done, y'all. But Yahuwah was inexorable, saying, "Was it I that committed a trespass, or did I pronounce a false judgment?" Also, Adam's prayer to be given of the fruit of the tree of life was turned aside, with the promise, however, that if he would lead a pious life, he would be given the fruit on the day of resurrection, and he would then live forever. Seeing that Yahuwah resolved unalterably, Adam began to weep again and implored the angels to grant him at least permission to take the sweet-scented spices with him out of paradise, that outside too he might be able to bring offerings unto Yahuwah, and his prayers be accepted before Yahuwah. Thereupon the angels came before Yahuwah and spake, "King unto everlasting, command thou us to give Adam sweet-scented spices in paradise." And Yahuwah heard their prayer. Thus Adam gathered saffron, nard, calamus, and cinnamon, and all sorts of seeds besides for his sustenance. Laden with these, Adam and Eve left paradise and came upon earth. They had enjoyed the splendors of paradise, but a brief span of time, but a few hours. They had enjoyed the splendors of paradise, but a brief span of time, but a few hours. It was in the first hour of the sixth day of creation that Yahuwah conceived the idea of creating man. In the second hour, he took counsel with the angels. In the third, he gathered the dust for the body of man. In the fourth, he formed Adam. In the fifth, he clothed him with skin. In the sixth, the soulless shape was complete, so that it could stand upright. In the seventh, a soul was breathed into it. In the eighth, man was led into paradise. In the ninth, the divine command prohibiting the fruit of the tree in the midst of the garden was issued to him. In the 10th, he transgressed the command. In the 11th, he was judged. In the 12th hour of the day, he was cast out of paradise in atonement for his sin. This eventful day was the first day of the month of Tishri. Therefore, Yahuwah spoke to Adam, "Thou shalt be a prototype of thy children, as thou hast been judged by me on this day and absolved. So so thy children, Israel, shall be judged by me on this New Year's day, and they shall be absolved. Each day of creation brought forth three things. The first, heaven, earth, and light. The second, the firmament, Gehenna, and the angels. The third, trees, herbs, and paradise. The fourth, sun, moon, and stars. And the fifth, fish, birds, and Leviathan. As Yahuwah intended to rest on the seventh day, the Sabbath, the sixth day he had to do double duty. It brought forth six creations: Adam, Eve, cattle, reptiles, the beasts of the field, and demons. The demons were made shortly before the Sabbath came in, and they are therefore incorporeal spirits. Yahuwah had no time to create bodies for them. In the twilight between the sixth and the Sabbath, 10 creations were brought forth. The rainbow, invisible until Noah's time, the manna, water springs, whence Israel drew water for his thirst in a desert, the writing upon the tablets of stone given at Sinai, the pen with which the writing was written, the two tables themselves, the mouth of Balaam's she-ass, the grave of Moses, the cave in which Moses and Elijah dwelt, the rod of Aaron, and with its blossoms and its ripe almonds. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. And we finished about the same time. We still averaging about an hour or just a little bit under. Okay, hold on, Pooh. We're almost done. All right, so I see, baby girl. You're wiping the frost off the window. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the reading today, y'all. We read the daily reading, which was Enoch 13, 14, 15, and 16. We got through that, and it was a little less than 10 minutes. And then we started here in the Legends of the Jews. We read about some details of Adam, the ideal man, and then we hopped right over here, and it gave us details of their sin and details of their punishment. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and do the blessing. Any of y'all start reading the books? I know I got a couple messages from quite a few people that went and ordered the book, and somebody said they didn't saw the price already go up on it. I'm not sure. I didn't check it yet. But any of y'all, I know Mom has received it. Anybody else received theirs yet? Let's see. Let me fix this. Okay. Okay, y'all. I had to pull the blessing up. This is acting a little different. Okay, y'all. So when y'all start reading, send me some messages on different stuff, or when we do the live videos, let me know what y'all think. Some of the stuff that I'm using wisdom not to read at the moment, just read it, take it in, verify the information. You will see that it lines up with the stuff that we have been given already. All right, babe. Love it. All right, y'all. So remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6. Remember, the first 21 verses is a Nazarite vow. When you get down to verse 22, all the way to verse 27, that is the blessing. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise, ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all. And I will see y'all bright and early in the morning. 7:15 a.m. Eastern. Wait, no. Today. Yeah, Eastern Standard Time. 7:15 a.m. All right, y'all. Love you. See you in the morning.